Hi everybody, this is Christine and I am here today with my next brand ambassador project for Graphic 45. Today I will be using the 12 by 12 Seize the Day collection pack, and what I am going to be doing is creating a 12 by 12 layout. Now my goal with this collection pack is to see how many layouts I can create just using the one paper pack itself. But for today's video, I'm going to walk through and create a double layout and show you how you can use these papers. Now, I know that Graphic 45 has gorgeous card kits and mini album kits that you can use for their papers, but I don't often see their papers being used on 12 by 12 layouts. So my goal today is to show you how you can use these stunning papers on your 12 by 12 layouts. So stay tuned. For this layout, I'm going to be starting with this paper, Dive into Happiness. Now, this paper on the front side has all of these beautiful sea life elements on it, but it's so large that there's not really a good place to place a photo without covering something up. So I'm going to show you how to transform this paper into a layout where you can add your photos and not have to worry about covering up any of these elements. To do this, we're going to be cutting our papers. Now I'm going to start cutting down here around some of this stuff here, leaving some of these fish in here, but I'm going to essentially be cutting this paper so that I'm going to have the middle open. I'm also going to be cutting up here around some of these pieces so that I have a top and I have a bottom, so it's going to look like you're underwater. So we've got the top of the water, and then we've got the bottom on the ocean floor, and then a space here for our photos. This is the piece that I have cut out of the middle. I'm going to set that aside, and these are my two pieces that I have left. Now I'm going to be using the Graphic 45 papers as my background as well, so I'm going to be using this sheet. I thought about using this side for the layout because it looks like ocean waves, but I decided that I like this color better. Now you want to be careful about the papers that you're using because we are going to be using both sides. So I'm going to put my layout for this one on the front side, but then I'm going to be placing another layout here on this back side. And I want my lines to be going horizontally because it looks to me like ocean waves. So I'm going to make sure that my paper is in the correct orientation. And I will be placing these here and here. Now for my pieces, I'm going to be using Peacock Feathers Distress Oxide. I think it matches pretty well. So I'm going to be using it, at least for this one. I might do it on all of them, I might not, but I'm going to ink around the edges of these pieces, and then I'm going to adhere these two pieces down to my background paper. Next, I'm going to be adding my photo spots here in the center. And I have taken this paper here and I've just gone ahead and cut off one section. It's 4 inches by 12 inches. And then I've cut 1 to 6 inches and then 2 of them to 3 inches by 4 inches. So these are wallet size, and then this is traditional 4 by 6. These are going to be my photo mats. Now, I did want to leave this up because I'm going to be tucking this underneath of it. So a lot of times I actually do leave the ends of my pieces open. I forgot to do it with these ones. That way I can tuck things underneath of them. If you have photos and you're following along, you do not have to do what I'm going to be doing next. I'm going to be using white papers as a holder for my photos. So for example, I've cut this one down just a little bit so that you will see that little small border of yellow, but this we're going to pretend is my photo since I don't have my photos for my layout. Then I'm going to take this one here and then this one here. And you can, if you have landscape photos instead of portrait, you can turn these this direction as well. But I'm going to leave mine in my portrait style. So what I'm going to do since I just have these white mats for now and I don't actually have photos, I have a repositionable runner that I'm going to just put a little tiny bit on the back of this and tack it right here into the center on all 3 of my pieces. That way it is removable. And then once I have photos, I can just pop those photos right on there. So I am going to angle these, and this is your preference here of however you choose. There's no right or wrong on how you do this. And I'm going to put my pieces like this. Now, before I move my pieces, I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to create very small little lines on the corners so I know exactly where to place my pieces again, since I like the look of how they are right now. And then I'm going to take these up and I'm actually going to ink around these edges. Then I'm going to put them down on my paper and we'll come back and we'll add some embellishments. Now that my photos are on, I'm going to bring in this paper here and my scissors, and I'm going to start to cut out some of these fish to be able to place on here. Now I'm going to cut out this one and this one for sure, and I think this one and maybe the seahorse. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to use all of them. I'm definitely not going to use the turtle or this one, I don't think. So I'm not going to cut everything out. I'm going to start with just a couple of them and I'm going to put them around my pieces. So I've got my 4 fish that I have cut out here, and I've cut some pieces of chipboard and I'm going to be adding them to my page here. Now I'm using pieces of chipboard that are small because I'm going to be placing these underneath the fish just to pop them up. Remember, I don't have my photos on yet, so I need to make sure that my photos are going to slide underneath of here. I'm going to be taking this one and placing it here. So I want this to be on the corner of my piece, but just slightly above it. So I'm going to be putting my chipboard piece just above that white paper where the photo is. That way the fish will be here and it'll be slightly onto my photo. But again, remember, I will be able to, when this is here, take this out and put my photo in there when I have a photo. So I am just going to first apply a little bit of adhesive to my chipboard piece and set it on here. And then I'll put my adhesive on my chipboard and rearrange my fish right on top. Then I'm going to take this little one and I'm going to be placing him down here. And just need to see where I like the look of it. So maybe here. So on this one then, I'm going to place my chipboard right off the side. And then again, applying my adhesive to my top of my chipboard and then applying my fish. Then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to be putting this one up here. So I have a larger piece of chipboard because he's larger. And I'll be placing that here. But I'm actually going to hold off on this one for just a minute. This piece I'm going to be putting here somewhere too, and I have a piece of chipboard. But like I said, I'm going to hold off on these two. I've taken this from my journaling card page and I'm going to be using this here, the Ride the Wave, as a title. So I don't want to adhere either of these two down yet until I have my title on here to know where I'm going to need to position these two. Now I'm going to be very careful when I cut this, and I am going to make sure that I keep my frame intact. So I am going to be cutting this along the orange frame, the inner part, so that the orange frame is connected to this. That way I can cut around this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut around this, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like. So this is what my piece looks like when I have cut it out. I made sure that I kept my frame intact and then I cut this piece out of it. I left a small border around most of it, but I did cut right around that starfish. Now I had originally planned to put my title here, but I decided that I'm actually going to place it here on this corner here of my frame, and I've got a piece of chipboard to pop it up, and it's going to go right here, just like this, which means that I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to place this fish here on this frame, and I think I'm going to center him on that one. Now I'm going to take this one, I'm going to cut this piece of chipboard down, and I'm going to place it here between these two photo mats. And then I've cut one more fish from my paper. I'm going to cut this piece down to size as well, and I'm going to place this fish down here, probably right where all of these pieces meet, just like this, so that I've got my pieces spread out a little bit, and all of those photo mats do have pieces overlapping them. Now you can leave your layout like this and it looks super adorable, but you can also add more to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these pieces here and I'm going to fussy cut some of this stuff down here at the bottom, and I'm going to add this down here to my layout. Now I've taken this first piece, it is the largest obviously, and I'm going to be tucking it here underneath the yellow fish. And I'm going to position it where it's just barely covering each of these photo spots. And so I like it where it is here. Now I'm going to put adhesive on this whole entire one with the clownfish because it's on the, up here at the top, it's on the paper. I'm not going to put any down here at the bottom. I'm going to put some adhesive down here and a little bit here at the bottom where I know it's not going to hit that white photo mat. So then I'll just very carefully put this back down right into here. Then I have this piece that I'm going to tuck down in here like this. So I will adhere just the bottom portion, and then the orange just like this. And now this one I'm going to take and put underneath here, but it's going to actually overlap on top of the fish. So I'm just putting my adhesive again on the pieces that I know are not going to hit that white where my photo is going to go. Then I have this little piece here, and I'm going to place it right in here. So I'm putting adhesive on the front of the flower at the bottom, or that, I should say, that looks like a flower, but it's more for coral, and a little piece up here. Now this piece is going to get adhered down, and then this piece is going to be adhered to the fish. In this last teeny tiny bit, I'm going to tuck in here, just like this. So with that one, I will take my adhesive along the bottom edge only and tuck it behind this little fish. And it goes just on to the front of the fish that's over top the photo mat. I have a couple of extra touches I'm going to add and finish up. So I have some of the old Graphic 45 matte pearl gems. You can use any type of gems here. I'm going to be using the silver ones, and I am going to be placing some pearls on my page so that it looks like bubbles from my fish. And I am going to come back after I have these on the page, and I'm going to use a mixed media gel to hold these down. But for right now, I'm just going to set them on the page. So I'm just going to put 3 here. And I'm going to use one of the bigger ones here to start with this one. And then add two smaller ones here. And then here I'm going to add a couple on this one. And I'm just adding them in groups of 3, just like that. You can also add some drops of white paint. You can put it on a paintbrush and flick it and put some white drops on there. A lot of people like to do it on their layouts. I thought about doing that, but for right now, I'm not going to. I might go through at the end after I have all of my layouts finished and do that, but for right now, I'm just going to leave this as is. And we're going to make a coordinating page next. This is going to be a double layout, but if you only do single layouts and you wanted to stop right here, you could stop and you have this beautiful layout with your graphic 45 papers. This is the paper we're going to start the next page of our layout with. This is the Seize the Day paper. So if you look at the name on the top, it says Seize the Day. We're going to be cutting this paper apart, not using it as it is. So I have a mat, a cutting mat, that way I do not ruin my graphic 45 silicone mat here. And I am just going to be putting it on this postage stamp area here. I'm going to be using a craft knife, cutting from the bottom of the fin on the turtle straight down this line all the way down. I am actually going to come up here and cut it too, but I will probably use scissors because I'm going to be fussy cutting around that turtle as well. So I am going to be focusing on keeping this part of my page, lining up the edge of my ruler here. Now you could also just draw a line down the paper and then use scissors to cut this, or you could take this to your paper trimmer. Now I'm going to take my scissors and cut around here, straight up the edge of this stamp, around the head, and then straight up here. I'm going to stop at that fish border. I'm not going to cut there. Now that this part is cut, I'm going to cut across the fish border, and I'm going to stop at the seashell border, and then I'm going to cut straight down that seashell border to remove this section of my paper. So I have my middle piece I'm going to set aside, and this is what I'm going to start working with. I'm going to bring in the other piece of the yellow paper that we had cut previously. So this is 8 inches by 12 inches. I also just cut this little tiny piece out here. So I just followed the rest of the arm of the turtle and then went up through the head. You don't have to do that if you want to keep it straight. I just did just a little bit of extra. Now I'm going to be placing this here so that the center of my paper is that yellow, and it's going to bring the yellow in that we used on the other side. So I'm just going to go ahead and adhere this right down to my yellow paper. So this is what my page looks like so far. This is going to be the background. We're going to work to prepare a couple of images first. Now I'm going to be using this frame here, and I'm going to be using the frame that we cut the center out of the journaling card for the last page. So this is going to be my smaller frame. This is going to be my larger frame. Now I'm going to be making sure that this is a 4x6 photo size. So I am going to take, this is 4x6, and I'm just going to set it on here in the center. And I'm going to draw a line around the left, the top, and then the right edge. I'm going to start down here at this wave. I'm going to fussy cut around this. I'm going to leave the fish. I'm going to come down here and cut all of this off. So I'm just going to cut around the fish and the wave. So just that part is going to be left. And then I'm going to actually cut on this line for the rest of my frame. And then I will be cutting this on the darker teal color. So I'm going to be cutting off, I think I'm going to cut off the border, that lighter teal border. You know what, I'm going to leave the lighter teal border on for now, and I might trim it off if I don't like the look of it. So I'm going to cut this centerpiece out, making sure that I keep these fish, so I don't want to cut into those. And then I'm going to cut this frame out. I did decide to take the lighter teal border off and made the piece just a little bit smaller that way so it'll fit on my page better. Now I have cut my white paper this time to 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, just because I am actually going to attach my frame piece to it. I'm going to leave this top part open so the photo can slide behind it, but I want to, I'm going to center this so I can see it here. I want to be able to attach this to the sides, and so I could have made this 4 1/2 by 6 1/4 and it would have been even better, but this will work just because this is exactly 4 inches. So when the photo goes in there, it'll slide down into here, but it's going to hit the ends of my piece. So what I'm going to do for this, when I go to adhere this down, I'm going to apply my adhesive to the inner part of the frame, and I'm just going to use a little tiny bit. And then I'm going to come down here a little bit. So I'm not going to add any adhesive there. That way the photo, if it's a full 4 by 6 photo, it doesn't have to be trimmed. It'll be able to slide down into there. And then I'm just going to set my paper on there. Just like this. And then that 4 by 6, this is actually cut a little bit smaller than 4 by 6. So, but that 4 by 6 will slide right down into there, into the frame. Now for this one, I've cut my piece 5 7/8 by 3 7/8. I did trim that darker border off of my frame here, and I am going to do the same thing. I'm going to adhere this down. I know on the other page these were removable, but because these are frames, I want to make sure that they're backed so that it's a little bit easier. And same thing with this one. I am going to leave the top open on this one. And I am just going to apply my adhesive then actually to the outer portion, because that piece will fit on the whole frame. I'll do that and then place my piece right here. And now I have that opening here. And when I bring these onto my page, I'm going to put one down here towards the bottom and one up here. It's going to be centered. So there's going to be a small yellow border at the top, a small little yellow border in between, and then a small border at the bottom. So we're going to center both of them side to side, and then we're going to center them on the yellow paper this way. Now that my 2 frames are on, I'm going to take the piece that was here and I am going to fussy cut some of these. So I am going to fussy cut this with these little fishies here, this one and the seaweed all together. I'm going to cut this one out, I'm going to cut this one out, and I'm going to cut this one out separate. So I have my pieces sitting here, and in addition to the piece that was cut from here, I've cut the sea turtle that I had left over from this paper that was in the center, and I cut a couple of other fish from there too. Now what I'm going to do is exactly what I did here. I'm going to take little pieces of my chipboard and I'm going to pop these pieces up. I'm not going to pop this one up just like I did with the pieces of coral on here. I'm going to leave this one here, but I'm going to pop up the sea turtle and I'm going to pop up each of the fish. For the sea turtle, I actually tucked this the bottom arm down into this frame. That way it will still allow the photo to slide up underneath of it. Now anywhere that this is on top of the white, so like down here and up here, I'm not going to apply adhesive, but I am going to adhere the rest down. Now because this is a frame, I don't want the opening on the frame, I don't want to put my chipboard here and not be able to put my photo down, so I'm going to only be applying my chipboard here or putting it onto the frame piece and over here. So just being careful about that. If you are someone who likes to have journaling on your layouts, you can take a card like this one. I'm not going to do this, but if I was going to put a journaling spot, I would actually cover this. So I would cut this card down and I would probably cut it across here and I would put this right inside the box so that it looked like the journaling was part of this paper. You could also, if you like to have your journaling visible, you could put it somewhere else if you chose to. But personally, like I said, I don't typically put journaling cards on pages, although I would consider doing that and cutting this in half. Or if you like the bottom half better, you would put it this way and cut it up here just so that you do have that spot for journaling. Now once I have all of these pieces down, the last thing I'm going to cut out is this bottom piece here. I'm going to fussy cut the coral pieces here just so that I can add some down here just to match the layout over here. So I added the biggest piece here. I tucked it underneath of the frame and it's over top of the arm here. So again, that photo will slide underneath that frame right on top of this. I put one of the little pieces here and then one little piece here. Nothing is adhered to the front of the frame, and I just made it so that it was even with the frame here. And then the last thing that I did was add some more pearls to my fish, just like I did on the other page. So I put 3 here, I put 3 here, and now one is on the frame and these 2 are on the piece of the coral. So again, that photo will slide right over top of those. And then I have 1 here on this frame and 2 up here. And so that photo again will be able to slide right into there and that will not hinder it. Now I have this one and this one. So here is my double spread for my photos. Like I mentioned before, you could put some little white paint drops, you know, the splatter from the paintbrush if you wanted to do that. I think I'm just going to leave mine as is. I hope you have found this tutorial to be helpful and hopefully it will inspire you to use your graphic 45 papers for some 12 by 12 layouts. Now I will be continuing to make some more 12 by 12 layouts using this collection, but I'll be posting those videos on my YouTube channel. So if you would like to see more with this collection, don't forget to follow me on YouTube so you can see more. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.